assures the well-being of my family aside myself. For instance, if my children are sick, they will take care of them. That's what motivated me. I'm encouraging others to get registered and join me.
And equally, these other mutualists that follow happens to be one of the beneficiaries of Maso Act 2, the ceremony that took place on the 9th of July 2022 at the Yaoundé Multipurpose Sports Complex. He was the winner of the house under the Mutual Assistance and Solidarity. We caught up with him to share his experience as he enjoyed his new home. Take a listen to what he has to say.
I'm called Mr. Nubisi Cyril. I'm one of the persons who have benefited from the grace, if I may attribute it to God and Master last year. I feel good here. I sleep in peace, and the only thing that marks me here is the absence of mosquito because I managed to install one at my residence and I live in total peace. Many saw me and my wife through the television. I no longer need to inform anybody because it is obvious in me. My wife was even the one who forced me to join it because I perceive it not like a scam but like a wastage of money and resources. She even told me that one of our relatives had won 3 vehicles, so I thought it was just family things. She threatened me for over 2 months and I resulted in playing it, and for the day of the raffle draw I was pre-selected. When I arrived here, that's when I discovered its reliability, and once I was handed the key of the resident and succeeded in logging the gate, that's when I was assured my life has changed. And if I say the contrary, it therefore means that I'm not being honest, because even the way I was being looked upon in the past, it is no longer the same for those who have visited my residence. And knowing that I won, things have absolutely changed.
Still talking about the mutual assistance and solidarity, join me, welcome Finwe Crispin in the studio. Good afternoon to you, Crispin.
Good afternoon, Abel Bila Samari.
The mutual assistance and solidarity has much to offer. Hence, every single person can be eligible to benefit. A case in point the automobile sector. That is taxis, picnics, and he has cars. But what are the measures to follow in order to fully acquire these automobiles in case you emerge with
picnic or HIAS for urban and interurban transport? The following is to make him or her eligible to the offer. The winner must have at least a 1-year experience as a driver, as well as a B driver license as an urban taxi driver and a D driver's license in interurban transport, followed by a certificate of capacity. Also, the beneficiary will have to deposit a personal contribution that is estimated at 30% of the cost price of the vehicle. The mutualist has 45 days, that is from the day of the raffle draw, to finalize all requirements necessary in order to obtain the prize won. Failure to respect the deadline, the beneficiary may not be eligible to take possession of the prize. Lastly, the prize won will be handed over to the beneficiary only after a contract of agreement has been signed by Renapro Finance SA and the mutualist. Worth noting that these are the procedures to follow when it comes to Maso Classic.
Maso, that was the special page in the news.
And if you are joining us, you are listening to Royal Afternoon Edition, the 2 p.m. newscast coming.
I find it very tricky, especially for teachers. There is a whole chain of administrators, from discipline masters in the schools to regional delegates and personnel who should let the minister know which teacher is present and which is absent.
We'll talk politics in this newscast to say the June 2023 parliamentary session, that is for the month of June, will open tomorrow, Thursday, June the 8th, 2023 at the Yaoundé Conference Center. And as MPs will meet for 30 days as per the country's constitution. For today's newscast, our reporter Jementa looks at the stakes and expectation from these members of parliament as they open the June session of parliament.
The June session of the parliamentary and Senate will be tabling on specific agenda as per these political scientist Dr. Baminjo Herman.
The major thing that is going to appear in the June session or for discussion this period is more or less a revision of the budget of Cameroon. You know, Cameroon had a deal with the IMF and the Bretton Woods institution on how to revise the budget of Cameroon and other proposal or proposed bills that the state has proposed.
The stakes seems to be high according to this political observer, Petrango George, who says
they have to see how things have been evolving in their various constituency. They equally have to see the crisis in the Northwest, Southwest, and the Boko Haram in the Far North. What can be done to see that this come to an end? They equally have to see and dialogue on some of our micro projects which maybe were not done and what has to be done.
If Cameroonians are faced with unsolved problems that hampers the standard of living, the political scientist Dr. Bamijo Ehrman outlines some expectations.
You know, the increase of the 5.5% of salaries of teachers in Cameroon, you realize that that had not been effected in the budget of Cameroon. And since it had not been effected in the budget of Cameroon, there is need to revise the budget in relation to the instructions of IMF. So there is the session. And like I said, other proposals are going to come in during the June session of the Parliamentary and Senate.
The ordinary session at the National Assembly opens at 11 a.m., whereas the Senate convenes theirs at 10 a.m.
Jementa in that report. We talk education to say that the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Nalova Lyonga, has announced in a communique the availability of an electronic address where reports on the teachers' absence in schools should be forwarded. This is in order to fight against the phenomenon of absenteeism in our educational sector. In line with this, our reporter Christel Mando interviewed an educationist in the person of Tang Durang. He gives his appreciation of this minister's decision. Take a listen to what he has to say.
It is a great thing that the minister seeks to know absentee teachers. The creation of an electronic portal to have teachers report their absentee colleagues is quite interesting, but I find it very tricky, especially for teachers. There is a whole chain of administrators, from discipline masters in the schools to regional delegates and personnel who should let the minister know which teacher is present and which is absent. In recent years, the teachers' census has been regularly conducted both face-to-face and electronically. The announcement of such a portal depicts the ineffectiveness of the censuses or the census agents. It equally shows that the minister does not trust the veracity of the data that comes from the field. I think it would be proper for the minister to call her collaborators to order and make them responsible, especially the principals, than put teachers, who are the least persons in the education sector, in such a tight corner where they have to report about their absentee colleagues. Besides, teachers have been asking for the digitalization of their career profile, yet nothing is being done about it. Everything gets serious around discipline, but for what concerns the well-being and working conditions of the teacher, I suggest that the minister should review her strategy.
And we'll stay in education to say that in the mission of reforming the Cameroonian educational system, the Ministry of Basic Education has signed an agreement with the Francophonie to evaluate the prehensions of this approach in the educational system of Cameroon. Christian Mando, you conduct some pedagogues and you compile what they have to say as regards to this subject in the following report.
According to the pedagogue Jones Viban, the signing of the agreement between the Ministry of Basic Education and La Francophonie should be able to bring out the practical parts of education in Cameroon.
All the signatories that are signing with whosoever they are signing, if it doesn't bring out the practical part of education in line with the recent developments and the growth of our country, then everything will still remain the same. There will be no difference between asking our children to be drawing leaves and naming part of a leaves and types of roots.
For this pedagogue, it is important to have a system of education that permits a primary school child to have certain notions when leaving for the secondary.
We need this system to come up with educational system where before our children even leave the primary education, they should be able to even identify the equipments found in the lab, the equipments found in the science lab, and how they are used, what are the things in the science lab, and how they function.
Cameroon is neither a French-speaking nation nor an English-speaking nation only. For this reason, the pedagogue Neighbor Julius says there is more important to be done for the country's education system.
What we need in Cameroon, starting from the basic level, is what we introduce into the system as a new curriculum, which is teaching the children using an approach which is called a project-based approach. The children are being taught on how to approach problems in their lives and resolve them, so that the children will come up with projects in order to solve their problems and become autonomous in themselves. They will be job creators.
Going on the above reactions, the actions carried out by the government in regards to education in Cameroon should promote development in this sector.
Christian Mando in that report. I will take you to something else in this edition of our 2 p.m. newscast to tell you that an international conference on practical approach to adopt cocoa and coffee cultivation to climate change has gone underway in Yaoundé. The international conference was officially opened by the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Gabriel Mbairobi, in the presence of the Minister in charge of Land Tenure and his colleague of Trade. Here now is the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Gabriel Mbairobi, in the following excerpt.
In our country, researchers propose some solutions like new varieties of crops, agroforestry, irrigation, or the decrease of the use of chemical pesticide. Irrigation is the solution, but our small farmers, they don't have means to practice irrigation in all our exploitation. That's why we need an alternative solution, that is good practices in agriculture for pest management. The solution is to observe and act when there's a problem. If there's no problem, we use bioproducts to increase the production.
And talking about this international conference, which is underway in Yaoundé, witnessed by some stakeholders who have drawn emphasis on how the international market imposes low prices when it comes to African goods exported abroad, but how little care about goods from some countries whose products, when manufactured, pollute our climate and are double-folded. But just how can these African producers change the narrative when we know that goods they export are bio? Our reporter Hajementa sought to find out this question to an economist in the person of Polycarp Chenuitala, who had this to say.
Climate change is still one of the greatest obstacles in obtaining the desired agricultural productivity in sub-Saharan Africa, in Africa and the world at large. Possible adaptation to this climate change is still a big challenge for most governments, international organizations, and even the producers as well, especially the agricultural producers in the rural areas. And one of the greatest problems in adaptation is the cost of adaptation. The cost of adaptation to climate change is what determines the output at the end. If the cost is too expensive, then the output of agricultural products is going to reduce, and a reduction in the output of agricultural products is going to incite the importation of goods from India and China as well. So therefore, the cost of adaptation has to be carefully checked. If not, there will be scarcity, and that will encourage importation of those goods which are heavy pollutants to the environment and not helping to solve the climate change problem. So adaptation to climate change is greatly constrained on the cost of the adaptation to climate change, because it has to be carefully checked so that importation of pollutant manufactured goods from India and China has to reduce, especially as government is promoting import substitution of agricultural products and the rearing of animals, cultivation of other crops as well.
We'll take you to talk about this International Day to say that Cameroonians are celebrating World Food Safety Day amid uncivilized hygienic practices in the country. In Obala, a man is language in sale as in the hands of the gendarmerie after being caught mixing his feces with flour to produce donuts, amongst others. How do Cameroonians react to this, and what disposition do they take to make sure that what they buy on the roadside is safe for their consumption?
Personally, on rampant incivility, I'm not going to be eating out carelessly, and that's what I'm going to advise others as well. You cannot eat unless you have seen a certain level of cleanliness in people, but with what is going on right now out, becoming very scary.
I always buy my books from someone I already know. If in case the guy or the person with whom I'm used to is not around, I'll make sure I'll try to buy something that is very certified.
There is an environment where people live, like here in Kamer, you can see it's very dirty. So I can't buy something where the environment is too dirty. It cannot encourage me. They want money. They don't care about
the well-being of another person.
Yeah, whether it's good or whether it's not good or the first thing they put in your mind is money.
I'll look somebody that physically he shows that he's clean. That's how I usually do. So if I want to go deep, no, I'm not sure I'll cope to buy something from someone.
So you just like that
I don't want to go deep to know how it started.
I will stay to talk about the International Day of Safety. Say eating safe food is one of the guarantor for good health, as recommended by the World Health Organization. This phrase draw the attention of many Cameroonians on their eating habits and question the provenance of some food items before consuming them, as they join the other nations around the world to celebrate World Food Safety Day. Hinge ordered the team Food Standards Save Lives. In line with this day, our reporter Ewa Tuzunduye cornered some Cameroonians to know if they consider the quality and quantity of food they eat. Take a listen to his report.
Eating safe food is one of the most crucial guarantor for good health, a visa to staying alive, but the problem always lies on the choice and the conditions surrounding the preparations and the exposition. Giselle and Mia are Cameroonians who always take precautions in order to take and eat fruit.
Of course, I take into consideration the quantity and quality of food I buy outside, especially if already cooked meals. It's something really risky and you need to take your time, because if you joke with it, you'll fall into some kind of meal that can give you a running stomach or cause you some problems that you do not know. There are some meals that you shouldn't even consider eating outside. Eating dole, achu.
If it is like fruits, I wash them before eating.
In as much as we all crave for money, due to family exigencies, Giselle thinks that a proper washing and full stuff before cooking would go a long way to enhance hygiene and good sanity in our society.
True, people will say it will be cooked, so it gives them the opportunity to mishandle food stuff that has not been prepared yet. You go to the market, you see green spices, tomatoes, just mixed in some kind of mud, just scattered anyhow. It's true they need to have money, they need to catch up with clients, but yet they should consider all the hygienic methods they need to put in place in preparations of all meals, not even certain meals. So food sellers should really take this as a chance or a message for them, conditions in which they put this cooked or not cooked food.
Zangu is a nutritionist, and he says for a population to stay safe, they must eat.
For the population to be safe, they have to eat fruit and vegetables that wash very well, eat a variety of food in order for us to maintain the healthy life of our body. Because for our bodies to function well, it needs vitamins, minerals, protons from food.
He went further to outline some of the negative effects of eating junk food, outlining these.
When food are not safe, we have the consequences that, like cholera, that they are facing now. The rate of cholera is of an increased rate for now. Since they discover the outcome of cholera has been identified. That is why we make sure that people should take care of themselves by eating the safe food.
As Cameroonians are joined their peers to celebrate World Safety Day, they are being called upon to eat good and safe food.
I will take you out of the country. First stop in Senegal. Senegal has temporarily closed its consulates abroad following attacks on diplomatic missions in Bordeaux, Milan, Paris, and New York, amongst others. The Foreign Affairs Ministry said in a statement on Tuesday that the precautionary measures follow a series of aggressions that caused serious damages. It said the consulate in Milan has been particularly hard hit, with passports, making machines, and identity cards damaged. The closure comes amid political tension in Senegal following the sentencing of opposition leader Ousmane Sonko last week to 2 years in prison, which led to deadly protests. Italian media report on Monday that about 40 Sonko supporters has gathered outside the consulate with flag and anti-government signs, breaking in and ramshackling the office before the police intervention. Senegal's foreign minister says consulate services will resume as soon as materials and security conditions are made available. We take you to talk sports in this edition of our 2 p.m. newscast. To say, let us welcome Evans William Jobati, who is here with our sport page. Good afternoon to you, William.
Good afternoon, Ebebera Samari.
The 19th edition of the International Cycling Tour of Cameroon continued today with a new leader. Evans.
Yes, Ebel. Yesterday's third lap, Edea Tukribi saw a new champion from the global cycling team from Netherlands in the name of Visual Stan, who covered the distance in 2 hours 39 minutes 50 seconds. While the yellow jersey has a new owner with the Bulgarian-born Martin Marinov, who is affiliated to the Matic Sports Club from France with same time as the day's winner. Rodrigue Quere has retained his leadership as the best Cameroonian cyclist in the competition so far. As of now, the cyclists are currently undertaking the 160.1 kilometer Kribi-Douala foot lap.
We talk volleyball in this edition with you to say that 3 national team selections are required to run up preparation ahead of the African and World Championship this Friday.
The teams notably able are the selections of the senior men and women as well as the under-19 volleyball teams who have been fine-tuning their skills at the Yaoundé Multipurpose Sports Complex. And in relation to these preparations, we caught up with some of the players who shared their experience in this exercise. Let's take a listen to them.
I'm Nelson. I am leader for the Cameroon national team. The stage has been very intense. Everything is moving on in the right direction.
I'm Chelsea Erika. At first it was easy, but now the work is more. I feel glad my first goal is to be selected for the game.
Also, we recorded the views of the national team technician, Peter Norenberg, who presented the morale in the camp.
We have good organization around the team. Many people are really willing to do some good job. Also, players are quite motivated, so it's interesting work. The moments, individual techniques, especially in the morning, we do a lot about serve-receive. In the afternoon, a little more about relation between set and spiker.
The training session is expected to end on Friday before the various coaches will make their final choice of players for the upcoming Women's and Men African Championship and the World Championship in the under-19 category. Abel.
And before you go, let's talk football. And in football, let's talk about the Cup of Cameroon, where the 8 finals draw for the Cup of Cameroon were made yesterday at the Fecafoot headquarters in Chinga.
The draws which took place yesterday was to pair clubs for the 8th and quarter-finals of the 2023 Cameroon Cup. The event is slated to run from Saturday 10 to Sunday 11 this month over 4 major stadia across the country. The Municipal Stadium in Betwa will host encounters between Les Champions of Garoua and Victoria United of Limbe at 1:30 p.m. and later on the clash between title contenders Coton Sport of Garoua and Edin Sport of Laleke at 3:30 p.m. Sunday on her part will receive several encounters beginning with the at the Bamenzi Municipal Stadium, which will welcome Stade of Banjul and Stade Renard of Melong at 1:30 p.m. and later at 3:30 occasion the clash between PWZ of Bamenda and RS FAP of Yaoundé. Same day, the Ngwaikele Military Stadium will have Regional League Hilltop Strikers of Bamenda Nkwe against Stade of Betwa at exactly 1:30 p.m. Whereas Colombe Sportif of Ja and Lobo will fight Union Sportif of Douala at 3:30 p.m. And at the Annex 1 Bempanda Stadium, Avion Academy FC will oppose to Dynamo FC of Douala at 1:30 p.m. with Canon Sportif of Yaoundé and Fovo Club of Baham completing the competition at 3:30 p.m.
Thank you so very much, Evans William Jobati, for that sport piece. As you unseat yourself, let's welcome Flora Nguayam, who is here with a summary of this newscast in the French language. Good afternoon to you, Flora.
Good afternoon, Abel. Masso Acte 3, plus que 32 jours avant la cérémonie du tirage au sort de cet événement, prévu le 9 juillet prochain au Palais Polyvalent des Sports de Yaoundé. Et dans les différentes agences Renaprove Finance SA, les dispositions sont prises pour boucler les cotisations des mutualistes désirant profiter des avantages et offres de la mutuelle d'assistance et de solidarité. Ce 7 juin 2023 est Journée internationale de la sécurité sanitaire des aliments. Cette initiative conjointe de l'ONU, l'OMS et le FAO a pour but de promouvoir des solutions et moyens pour garantir aux populations la consommation des aliments de qualité. À l'étranger, Rwanda, le président Paul Kagame a procédé à une demi-douzaine de changements au sein de l'armée ainsi qu'à la nomination d'un nouveau ministre de la Défense. Ces modifications sont une réponse au contexte de tensions persistantes entre Kigali et la République démocratique du Congo. Et puis en sport, 8e de finale de la Coupe du Cameroun de football. Les matchs se disputeront les 10 et 11 juin prochains. Dans le carré des amateurs, les champions de Garoua seront face à Victoria United. Stade de Berthois s'opposera à Hilltop Strikers. Stade de Banjoum jouera contre Stade Renard. Pour ce qui est des clubs professionnels, l'on assistera au duel Avion Academy Dynamo, PWD